Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have another great show for you tonight. Back after a brief hiatus, Mr. Casper Leach is ready to be his outrageous, flamboyant self.
And tonight the role of Casper Leach is being played by Sally Fields.
And in the distance, we have Mr. John Cornett ready to play some tunes. How you doing tonight, John?
I'm here, brother.
You got 3 guitars.
Yes, sir. Just in case I forget how to play one.
Good, good. All right. Well, we've had some interesting videos for you, both from the University of Mississippi's Pot Farm and a video from Jorge Cervantes right here in Portland interviewing Phylos Bioscience, genetic mapping company. So we'll talk about how they do that here. We have some pictures from Expo Weed in Mexico, where I was at a couple weeks ago. And as always, our hemp news segment right after the infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, hemp news now. U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions, the ever-outspoken cannabis prohibitionist, has been pushing for congressional permission to prosecute medical cannabis providers in states that have legalized the drug for medical use. Attorney General Sessions, who points to America's historic drug epidemic to justify the crackdown, denies extensive research showing medical cannabis access lowers rates of opioid-related overdose. In a recent study which analyzed hospitalization records from 1997 to 2014 in 27 states, the researchers from the University of California, San Diego found hospitalization rates of people suffering from painkiller abuse and addiction dropped an average of 23% in states that offered medical cannabis. Medical marijuana laws may have reduced hospitalizations related to opioid pain relievers, according to Yuyan Shi, the study's author and the University of California, San Diego public health professor. He said, quote, "This study and a few others provided some evidence regarding the potential positive benefits of legalizing marijuana to reduce opioid use and abuse, but they're still preliminary," end quote. There have been other studies that have analyzed the connection between medical marijuana and reduced opioid prescriptions, including one published in the Journal for the American Medical Association, JAMA, Internal Medicine, in 2014 that found a 25% decrease in opioid overdose deaths in states with legal medical marijuana. The Sessions planning a crackdown is going to create even more political problems for an already beleaguered administration. President Trump promised repeatedly during the campaign to respect local marijuana policies, and huge majorities of voters across party lines support letting states implement their own laws without federal interference. This is a fight that the administration should not want to pick. Recently, a Quinnipiac poll found that 94% of Americans now favor legalizing medical cannabis under a doctor's care, and 61% support legalizing recreational use. Next story is out of Washington, D.C. The American Legion, the nation's largest wartime veteran service organization, has adopted a resolution calling for federal officials to expand veterans' access to medical marijuana. The resolution passed last week at the Legion's annual convention and urges the, quote, United States government to permit VA medical providers to be able to discuss with veterans the use of marijuana for medical purposes and recommend it in those states where medical marijuana laws exist, end quote. The language is similar to pending legislation in Congress, H.R. 1820, the Veterans Equal Access Act. In July, members of the Senate Appropriations Committee voted 24-7 to include similar language as an amendment to the 2018 Military Construction, Veterans Affairs, and Related Agencies Appropriations Bills. Identical language in the House was blocked from consideration by House Rules Chairman Pete Sessions, a Republican from Texas. Last year, majorities in both the U.S. House and Senate voted to include similar language as part of the fiscal year 2017 Milcon VA bill. However, Republicans sitting on the House Appropriations Committee elected to remove the language from the bill during the concurrence vote. Federal policy prohibits VA doctors, including those residing in legal medical cannabis states, from providing the paperwork necessary to complete a recommendation, thus forcing military veterans to seek the advice of a private, out-of-network physician. Both the American Legion and AMVET issued public calls last year in support of federal marijuana law reforms. Veterans are increasingly turning to medical cannabis as an effective alternative to opioids and other conventional medications to treat conditions like chronic pain and post-traumatic stress. Washington, D.C., the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is soliciting public comments with regard to therapeutic utility, abuse, and liability of various substances, including cannabidiol, or CBD. The agency will consider these comments prior to preparing a formal response to the World Health Organization, which is considering placing the substances within their International Drug Scheduling Code. Cannabidiol is defined by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, as a Schedule I controlled substance, despite its therapeutic properties and lack of abuse potential. 17 states explicitly recognize CBD as a therapeutic agent by statute. Safety trials have determined the substance to be non-toxic and well tolerated in human subjects, and even the head of the U.S. National Institute on Drug Abuse, or NIDA, has publicly acknowledged that CBD is a, quote, safe drug with no addictive side effects, end quote. Those wishing to share their comments with the FDA may do so online. The agency is accepting public comments on this topic until September 13, 2017. In Michigan, the signature drive to legalize marijuana in Michigan in November of 2018 is swiftly progressing toward making the ballot. Robin Snyder, the finance director of the Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol in Detroit, told Hemp News, quote, last week we passed the 200,000 signature mark, meaning we're well on our way to reaching our goal of collecting 366,000 signatures. 252,523 of these signatures need to be validated to get on the ballot for 2018 and end cannabis prohibition once and for all in the state of Michigan. In 2015, Michigan arrests for marijuana were more common than arrests for shoplifting. According to Michigan State Police data, police made 23,893 arrests involving marijuana in 2015, about 9% of all arrests. Our next story is out of Springfield, Illinois. State lawmakers are holding a public hearing Wednesday, September 6th, in the Illinois State Capitol on legalization in Illinois and how it relates to public safety. Those testifying in front of the House Appropriations Committee include current and former members of law enforcement, academic researchers, and experts. Thanks, Judy. Gosh. Experts from around the country. Members of the public are welcome to attend. This is the second in a series of hearings this year on legislation presented by sponsors Senator Heather Steens of Chicago and Representative Kelly Cassidy. The hearings are designed to inform and educate lawmakers on legalization, how it's gone in other states, and how it might work in Illinois. They're a great opportunity for state lawmakers to dig deeply into many of the issues surrounding legalization. No longer are the fears and benefits of legal marijuana the subject of mere conjecture. Other states like Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and Colorado have taken this path, generating higher revenues and lower crime rates. Illinois voters are on board. It's time for Illinois politicians to get the message. The state's official notice for the hearing is available online at ilga.gov. That's ilga.gov. Next story is from Pennsylvania. In the past month, more than 100 physicians in the Keystone State have signed up to be involved in the medical cannabis program, according to the Pennsylvania Health Department. Physician General Rachel Levine said in a statement that the physicians have taken the first step to become approved medical marijuana providers by completing a practitioner registry on the Pennsylvania Health Department's website. The Pennsylvania Health Department launched the practitioner registry on July 26th. Doctors who register to be involved in the program must complete 4 hours of training before they can be approved to participate. Within the The statute that allows medical cannabis outlines 17 specific conditions that qualify for its use, which include cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, HIV, multiple sclerosis, and post-traumatic stress. Pennsylvania's medical cannabis program is scheduled and on pace to proceed sometime next year. Out of South Bend, Indiana, marijuana use is associated with reduced rates of obesity, diabetes, opioid abuse, and other conditions that may lead to premature mortality, according to a review paper published by the biology department chair at the University of Indiana at South Bend. According to the review, an estimated 23,500 to 47,500 premature deaths could be prevented annually if marijuana was legally regulated nationwide. This paper, Cannabis Use is Associated with a Substantial Reduction in Premature Deaths in the United States, appears online. Out of San Francisco, California, neither current nor long-term cumulative use of cannabis is associated with negative effects on the kidneys, according to data published online ahead of imprint in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology. Investigators at the San Francisco Veterans Affairs Medical Center and the University of California at San Francisco assessed the impact of past and current marijuana use over a 10-year period on estimated EGFR, or glomerular filtration rate, a screening measurement used in early detection of kidney damage. The authors reported, quote, "Our findings did not demonstrate an association between marijuana use and a change in kidney function, kidney decline, or the presence of albumin in urine, which is typically a symptom of kidney disease," end quote. This study, marijuana use and estimated glomerular filtration rates in young adults, appears in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology. Last story tonight is a national one. Recently, NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana bought into a cannabis technology company named Herb, H-E-R-B, a digital media company based in Toronto, Canada, geared specifically for cannabis industry, and mixes original how-to videos with hard news and profiles. The company, which boasts 5.3 million unique visitors per month and 2 billion organic video views annually as of June 2017, aims to expand to Los Angeles and New York City, as well as build out new studios to offer online content. Liquid 2 Ventures, Joe Montana's venture capital firm, was a part of the group that invested $4.1 million into Herb during the company's seed funding round. Montana and Liquid 2 Ventures joined several others in this funding round. That's the end of our Hemp News segment tonight, and Mr. John Cornett is ready to play some music.
Yes, I am, sir.
Thank you.
I'm a very, very grateful medical cannabis user. And, right here in this very studio, we rewrote this song that I wrote quite a little time ago, but we rewrote it right here. And it's called, I call it, it's my variety song. Anyway, it goes like this. We like train wreck, Northern Light. We like Blue Dream, Sour Diesel. Life is good. Life is good. Oh yeah. Life is good for you and me. So good. So good. So good. So good. We like God, but Doctor Who, UK cheese too, Cinderella. Life is good. Life is good. Oh yeah. Life is good for you and me. So good. So good. edibles, RSO, Charlotte Web too, even Shatter. Life is good. Life is good. Life is good for you and me. So good. So good. So good. So good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you,
Mr.
audience.
John Cornett.
Thank you.
Welcome, viewers. Hey, we have our banner turned around again because we've received a court order that I cannot represent myself as being part of the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, even though I founded it. So I urge you, do not be part of Empower Healthcare or the Hemp and Cannabis Medical Clinic. Don't go to my old businesses that are located across the country, but especially here in Portland on 18th Avenue. There are a lot of other clinics out there, and we have a clinic referral service. If you need more information, you can call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. Right next to me again is Mr. Casper Leach. Welcome back, Casper.
Thank you very much.
How you doing?
Pretty groovy, and you?
Hanging in here, hanging in here. Our telephones are down again, so that kind of degradates our show. We're not able to answer your questions about medical marijuana, industrial hemp. This is like a month now. I don't know, they can't pay their phone bill or something. They spent like at least $30,000 on some kind of projector up here, but they can't get the phones hooked up. We don't know why. You know, they're constantly spending tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in upgrading the studio. So I'm not exactly sure why we don't have our phones after a month, and no one at the front desk seems to be able to explain that. I know it's a big part of our show, and I kind of miss it. Don't you?
Yeah, I do.
So I got a letter in the mail today saying that I had to enroll in a new program, as did any other person with a medical marijuana card here in the state of Oregon. They are, according to a new law that was passed by the legislature and goes into effect in December and January later this year, a medical marijuana grower who grows for more than 2 patients has to pick to register with either the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program or the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. And they have to, in addition to the other fees that are already associated with the medical marijuana program, which are usually about $200 per patient, unless they're a veteran or on some sort of other public low-income status, $200 per patient. Then the grower has to pay $200 per patient. And now every grower has to buy into this metric system to track all the medical marijuana that's grown through either the OMMP, the Department of Health's medical marijuana program, or through the Oregon Liquor Control Commission's recreational marijuana program. So this is a conundrum that all people who are growing for more than 2 patients will face now. If you're growing for 2 or less patients, you do not have to register. So here in Oregon, you're allowed to grow 4 plants per household. That's 4 plants per household without any registration or any medical marijuana qualification. Every household can have 4 marijuana plants legally. Now, without registering under this new program and buying into this manual tracking system for $480 annually, and then they sell you little tags to put on all your plants, and there's a whole lot of other tracking requirements under this law. But without doing that, you can take care of 2 patients and grow up to 12 medical marijuana plants. That means you could grow for 2 patients and have 12 plants plus your 4 plants per household. So you could see a household with 16 mature flowering marijuana plants without being required to comply with this new rather expensive tracking system. But you know, when we passed the medical marijuana law, we said that it would not affect, when we passed the recreational marijuana law actually back with Measure 91 in November of 2014, the law said it would not affect the medical marijuana program. But the legislature, for the first time ever in Oregon's history, has come in and made radical changes to this initiative that was passed by the people. The legislature knows better, of course. And so this is the program that we now have. So if you receive that letter today, know that if you're growing for less than 2 patients, it does not apply to you. But if you grow for 3 or more patients at one location, then you have to comply with this new tracking system and choose by December 1st and send a form back to the state that says that your location will either register with this tracking system with the Oregon Health Authority's medical marijuana program, or in the alternative with the Oregon Liquor Control Commission's recreational marijuana program. So we'll have more on that in coming weeks, but I know probably a lot of people would be calling in and asking about that if it wasn't for the fact that our phone lines are down. What do you think about that, Casper?
Interesting. Very interesting.
So what's up with you?
Well, we're doing new videos at Time for Hemp reluctantly. Not something I wanted to do. I didn't want to go back to video. But it seems that the market is heading in that direction. So for us to maintain audience growth and for us to be able to maintain sponsorships, we have to also grow.
So hopefully you can get Joe Montana to come in and pass you a bomber.
So what we're doing is that we're doing little videos on Facebook. We're trying to keep them down to about an hour, maybe less. And then we're going to start branching out. We got veterans' voices that are going to be doing shows on different things that the veterans are facing, and we're going to be putting them on video. We're going to be adding Judge Gray's programming to video as well. So, and we're also building a new platform for Time for Hemp to broadcast on. Seems that when anybody is involved with the alternate media, whether you're doing alternate media left or right, Google and Facebook do what they can to censor. What happened is about a year ago or less, YouTube lost a lot of its major sponsors like Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, because these companies did not want to have their advertising alongside content that promoted relegalization of cannabis and other political doctrines that they did not sign up for. So they told YouTube goodbye. So now YouTube is doing what they can to make it difficult for our message to be heard. And then Facebook just loves it when you pay to boost your post or pay to boost your video. So when you try to promote your videos or promote your Facebook group site on Facebook to Facebook members, if you do it to too many groups, too fast, too quickly, they shut you down.
That happens a lot to a lot of people.
It
there's
does,
a certain
and it makes it
limit
hard for people to get their message out, for us to build an audience. So what we really need for you to do is to share us with your friends, tune in a lot, and in the process, we are building a platform where you can actually go eventually to watch all of our videos live throughout the course of each day. And then we'll be putting segments of those videos onto Facebook and YouTube and using videos on YouTube and Facebook to promote our network.
You know what?
Instead of using our network to promote Facebook.
Speaking of that, let me interrupt you here if I can and just say right now our show is streaming live on Facebook. So if somebody wants to watch it, or if you know somebody anywhere in the world that you think should be watching this right now live, tell them to go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/restorehemp. That's facebook.com/restorehemp.
So that's what we're doing. We're working hard to get the message out. We really need you to share us with your friends. Tune in and check us out. I'm doing 5 shows a week at 4:20 at Time for Hemp Live, our little group site, 4:20 Monday through Friday. This week we had live guests from our sponsors, and we've got video news that we share, and we got lots of androids that we've added to the program to help with the broadcast.
Is that like R2D2 or
no? These are little
CP30.
No, these are little animated cartoon figures that look like people.
And they
talk
like pop
people.
in the screen while you're doing your show.
Right. So do make it a point to tune in, share us with your friends, watch us grow, and make certain that Facebook doesn't stagnate us. That's what we've been doing, Paul.
I wish you a lot of luck in that.
Thank you.
I know you've had some troubles here recently, as we have, as this banner here indicates. So, you know what? We have videos from Jorge Cervantes, and that is ready to roll. Jorge came here to Portland and interviewed the folks at Phylos Bioscience, who are trying to map the genetic profile of cannabis and keep it in the public domain so big corporations won't be able to patent it and take it away from us. So we strongly support that kind of action. I think all DNA should not be patented. It should be open source code, just like open source code on internet programs like Linux. So in fact, I've been working at that, which might be one of the reasons that these corporate raiders have been trying to shut me down here, is they don't want to see the kind of political changes that I've advocated for many, many years. But here's a video where Jorge Cervantes interviews the folks at Phylos Bioscience. We'll be right back.
Okay, so here I am, this is Jorge Cervantes. I'm back in the second video here at Phylos Bioscience, and what we've got coming up is an explanation of exactly what happens with that stem when you send it in with no cannabinoids on it. Well, it's no THC, no cannabinoids on it, but you can still get the DNA out of it. We'll see what happens and how they take that DNA out of there. It gets a little complex, so we're going to glaze over a few things, but all the information's there. You can come to the website, Phylos Bioscience, and take a look. Well, let's see. Here we go. So we've got a big machine that this goes into next.
So this is a centrifuge, which spins the stem and beads inside of it, and it breaks it up into small pieces to enable us to extract the DNA.
So that just spins around really fast and breaks it up.
Yeah, I mean,
into itty bitty pieces.
It's really fast, very dangerous. Actually, we've all been warned to step away from the machine. And
yeah, they said this would be like, if this thing comes unhinged, this is the centrifuge. So they've got all these little pictures around here to remind people
yes.
just how dangerous this
and
thing
all
is.
of our equipment is
called
named
Starfighter.
All of it's named after a different variety.
I love this. This is great.
And this is what comes out of this process.
Out of the centrifuge here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool, that's what comes out. Okay, and then what's the next step?
The next step is...
yeah, you can talk in the background, because we've got several people around that,
we extract
that are...
DNA
Okay.
From this, and it goes through a number of different processes, and it's added to a...
And the DNA goes over that column, and then it comes through, and what's on the column is just the DNA, and we take it off the column, and now it's pure from all of the other plant debris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you isolate out the DNA, and then what do you do?
And then for the genotype, we actually combine the DNA. It's a day-long process with a series of adapters, which enable it to then run on our next-gen sequencer, which we have named Betty Page.
Betty Page, I love it.
She's over here.
You know, for you young guys that don't know Betty Page, look her up.
I think that they named it that way because she's a badass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she was the hottest thing on calendars everywhere. So what's this thing here, Nishan?
This is essentially a plate, and all the samples are put into this. You know, however many samples we're running are put into this, and the part of the process of preparation is to add tags to each of those samples, each of the pieces of DNA, so that they can be reassembled after they're read.
Oh wow!
And so they
you gotta
all
tag
go on
each one of those genes.
It's sort of like an internet packet where they split it up into small pieces, and then at the other side it's assembled back together with the right pieces. And so, so it runs. It's read out of this machine. And actually, that's the fairly easy part of it, the reading part. It does take a bit of time. But then once it's read, that data set is sent off to our bioinformatics team. And our dev team, they've built a pipeline that analyzes and puts all those packets back together, and it recalculates the galaxy. So every single time the galaxy is recalculated to add new pieces of information to all the other samples. And that's why it's important that it's an online tool versus a report. A chemotype report doesn't change every time you add a new sample in your lab.
So it's a perpetual thing.
Yeah, we're
as soon as
adding
you
new
got a new
information.
sample, that is shown the same day that you get it analyzed.
It clarifies all of the other samples. So every sample adds more information to all the other samples.
Wow, that's great. That's like a perpetual inventory system, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
except it grows.
It grows.
Incredible.
And so we get more and more information to those samples, and so people can come back. It's not just a one-time thing.
Right, because you've got so many different varieties. So that's it. That's as soon as you get done here, you can start posting that. That information gets posted on the Galaxy.
It runs through, so it gets all that data gets zipped up into the cloud and gets run through our informatics pipeline.
Cool.
And then it gets a couple of internal reviews. That pipeline has all these checks and balances, and then it gets, if it passes all those controls, it gets published on the web.
Well, the great part about it is it's scientific information that you collect that's consistent, and it's not somebody's opinion. There's no opinions here. There's
Right.
no guessing here.
It's
verified information.
It's interesting. People are now, having these arguments online, and they're just saying, get it Phylos, dude.
Well, right. So many people say that I've got the original OG, for example.
Right.
That's all BS. You don't know who has the original OG. Where did this come from?
Unfortunately, there's so much lore and information that gets passed along, or just mistakes, honest mistakes from a tagging perspective. Someone has a sample that was, maybe they fell out and the tags got added back, or they lost a variety and they had to go get it back from their friends, and maybe their friends didn't do it. And it's just, there's a number of times people realize that they have something else than what they really are.
That's pretty common.
It's very, very common, and it's, here we are now. We're just providing information. We're just shining a light on what is actually there.
But it's so funny too, because so many of these varieties look just like the other one. The one plant had a dozen different names, same genes.
Yeah, and to be fair, that is from the market that we've come from, right? So I didn't say Nishon's Farms OG,
right?
Or it basically, I didn't want people to know it was me, so we brand, these groups would brand them with a new name, saying, hey, this is the one that I did, and we'd like to try to see those as varieties with the farm being the, the farm is the phenotype, right?
Right, exactly.
The farm is what makes the difference between a really great outcome and maybe not so great.
Not so great. Outstanding. Well, I just know this is going to change the entire seed world and the entire genetic world, because they can do a lot of stuff like isolate out genes. We can get stronger branches in plants. We can get disease resistance and pest resistance, and also working with CBDs, THCV, all of the other cannabinoids can be drawn out. We actually have scientific information, and it's really funny because the United States, or breeding in general, went through this entire change 60, 70 years ago. So we're just catching up now.
Right. We will be developing markers that will allow people to see at a seedling stage what this plant has the potentiality for.
Okay, that's an interesting word, marker. Marker. That's a genetic term, isn't it?
It's a piece of DNA that identifies that plant as producing a certain outcome, or capable of a specific outcome, whether it's internodal length or pest resistance or
branch strength or
all these different
root size
that we've maybe not targeted. We've been targeting THC or some terpene.
So within people, it'd be like the red hair gene or the blonde hair gene.
Blue eyes.
So you can tell exactly what there is, and you know what the outcome's going to be. Man, this is pretty cool. So remember, guys, go to this phylosbioscience.com Galaxy, and you're going to see what, over 2,000 varieties there?
Something right around in there.
Wow.
We're adding them all the time, so it's right around 2,000 varieties.
Perfect. They're adding them every day. Every day. It's cool as heck. Well, this is Jorge Cervantes at Philo Bioscience with my good buddy Nishon. We'll see you in the next video. where we talk about sex.
All right. Well, we want to thank Jorge Cervantes for letting us use his video. Well, that's always a seller, right? So
Oh,
everybody's
my
going to want
gosh.
to tune into that. Nothing more exciting than cannabis sex, right? So, you know, I met Nishan Krasasik here just in Mexico City 2 weeks ago. He was also a speaker on the same day I spoke in, back on, I guess it was the 19th, Saturday. There's a photo there at their booth there in Mexico City about 2 weeks ago, 13 days ago to be exact. But had a very good time at Expo Weed in Mexico City. I gave a presentation about the history of cannabis in America. We have some other photos. I don't know if we can run those, but there's that one. We did that one. Oh, here's one with some folks that are fans. I'm amazed how well known I am in Latin American countries. I've been asked to speak all over Latin America. I think it all started with a couple speeches I gave in Spain back in 2013 and 2014. But I'm going to be down at what is it? Expo MediWeed in Medellin, Colombia again in November, and there's a bunch of other events coming up in Vancouver and other places. But one I really want to promote is in Quebec. There's some folks with the Nirvana Seed Company. So that's the fellow who founded that. Let's roll on to the next photo. And here's a group of doctors that first, well, the fellow right next to me is Julio Zen Neal. He runs Canamo magazine and the Expo MediWeed. Then there's Lorena Bertrand from Colombia, and he works out of Denver as well. And then a couple of physicians that are helping patients there in Mexico. We did a big press conference. We even had Latin American CNN come in and cover it. But it was a good thing. And if you want more information, just look up Expo Weed Mexico. That's Expo Weed Mexico. Let's come back on camera 3. All right. So I'd like to make a little announcement here. I am going to try to do a little promotional here for the International Hemp Forum that's going to be doing a conference next year, the International Hemp Forum in Quebec, Quebec, that some of the same people that put on the one in Japan that I went to last year are doing the one in Quebec. So I want to urge you folks to find out more about the International Hemp Forum and our coming conference next July in Quebec, Canada. And remember, we're working to restore hemp. I am honored that they're taking that phrase that we've been using forever and making it their main slogan of.
You know who
next
spearheaded
year's
that forum, don't you?
Jay Nair.
Jay Nair. She did
Yeah.
it in the
She
name
was
of
one of the
Time
people.
for Hemp. She's trying
And
to get messages
Takashi.
about Time for Hemp out and draw attention to what we're doing. So she figured that what she did last year for Japan was so successful that she would do it again this year and bring together people from all around the world. So I want to say thank you, Jay Nair, for making that happen for our broadcasting network. So those people who are putting it on, that's us.
Well, I mean, it's not really you, but it's the folks at Takashi Okanua is really the guy who spearheads it, but JR is really working on it quite actively.
So that we
I
can
do know
broadcast it or on the internet and share
Yeah.
it with people and get the information out to everybody.
Yeah, so we're proud to help in that. Maybe we'll use this little video we made in here to cover that. Now we have is that other video ready to roll? Okay, so here is another video talking about the University of Mississippi. We'll be right back after this.
University of Mississippi, home to the Lyceum, William Faulkner, Ole Miss football, the only federally funded marijuana farm in the country. Wait, what? For all intents and purposes, you're the government's sole producer of marijuana.
Correct.
Dr. Mahmoud El-Soli oversees the University of Mississippi's marijuana project, with over 6,000 plants and kilo upon kilo of weed. Its mission? To aid law enforcement and produce pot for federal study, mostly related to addiction.
Any investigator that really needs to do research, bona fide research, they can't get their material from our program.
Obviously, putting a pot farm smack in the center of a college campus raises some, shall we say, security concerns, especially with varieties that El Soli says have a THC concentration of more than 30%. So the university installed a little security, some 20 high-definition cameras, double barbed wire fencing, and armed guards.
It's a requirement in the contract to satisfy DEA requirements. Security is all over the place.
More than 40 years ago, when the university launched its marijuana project, legalizing pot was little more than a joke. But now, a majority of Americans favor legalization, and more than 20 states have approved marijuana for medical use. Yet Ole Miss, not those states, is the only place to get sanctioned and funded pot for study. The shift in American public opinion on marijuana has coincided with an uptick in research requests for the plant. But that, not unlike an Ole Miss student trying to get into here, is not an easy process. It involves many acronyms. First, there's NIDA. It gives the university the contract to grow the pot. Then, interested researchers get NIH or HHS to sign off on their products. The FDA also has a say. And then the DEA must approve of the storage, handling, and transfers of the marijuana. And this can all take months, or even years.
There's no shortage of interest in doing this research, but if you talk to up-and-coming researchers and scientists, they'll tell you that the time, the money, the energy, the effort required to jump through all of those hoops, it's just not worth it.
Is it your sense for research purposes that the process is too onerous now?
Well, it might be. It takes a longer time.
El Soli's counter to his critics? Research takes years. A few more months won't hurt.
Okay, well, now you know the University of Mississippi has the only federally approved marijuana farm. They want to bust the rest of us, but as long as they're doing it there in Mississippi, it's okay. So I've known several patients, probably about a half dozen, who've received medical marijuana from that farm starting back in the 1980s, including Robert Randall, who was the first medical marijuana patient to get approved to get federal subsidized marijuana. Elvie Masika, who's been a guest here on this show many times, Irv Rosenfeld, and many others. Initially, there were 19 people in the program when George Bush I ended that program, and now there's only 3 people left. The majority of them, about 12 people, passed away. There were about 150 people on the list getting ready to receive that medical marijuana from the federal government. They get that tin, like you saw at the end of the video, with 300 joints per month. And here, Elvie's been on that since 1988. She's doing pretty darn well, you know. So if you're out there watching a stream on the internet at Facebook and you have a question for us, you can actually type in that question, and that question, through the magic of text messaging, will get translated to us. So we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left before John comes on and starts singing again. So if you have a question, you're watching us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/restorehemp. And hopefully we'll get those phones back on. Hey, we've got a question in the audience. So we have an audience member, and we have an audience down here. You're welcome to come down and watch us. We're here most Fridays every week. This is actually show 902. And I've been doing this show live since 1996. But Judy is at our microphone, and go ahead, Judy.
Hey, good guys. Thanks, everybody in front of the camera and behind, for another wonderful show.
Thank you.
Wonderful show. I count on the news every week to keep me current. I know from reading medical research online, a lot of it, most of it, I don't understand, and I'm reading it. But in an awful lot of them, at some point in there, if you keep reading, you get down towards the bottom, they always mention the difficulty of getting the material to do the research.
Right. And a number of universities, University of Massachusetts and Amherst and others, have applied for permission to supply that, but the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, always stops that from going into effect.
And I did have a question for you, too.
Go ahead.
For us here in the state of Oregon, we have gone through a lot of changes with our laws.
And they continue to change, like
Yep.
the letter most of us got here in the past couple of days.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten ours yet, or maybe I haven't opened the mail. But what I wanted to ask you is, so now we've got, was House Bill 2198 that created our Oregon Cannabis Commission.
There are people that have applied to be part of that, but
That's-
it hasn't been set up yet, to my knowledge.
Well, that's part of what I was wondering. It's kind of a two-parter here. I was wondering if there was any plan, if we were going to be having, say, Anthony Taylor or any of our tremendous activists that spend so much time in Salem, working on issues, working with our legislators, getting things done. If anyone would be on the show, and if you had any idea if somebody like an Anthony Taylor had applied to be on the Cannabis Commission.
I think he has applied to be on the commission. Time will tell. We'll have Anthony back here when he's ready. So, and as you can see here, and I hope he comes back soon. You can talk about that. But we do have this new law that requires everyone who grows for 3 or more patients to buy into this $480 a year annual fee for tracking, a software tracking system, and then you have to remain compliant with tracking all your cannabis and tag each plant, and that $480 fee is in addition. So you will have to make a choice between growing under the Oregon Health Authority's medical marijuana program or growing under the Oregon Liquor Control's recreational program. And so you have to, and in fact, every different location, regardless of how many growers happen to be at that location, they can only have one reply. I was reading through the letter I received today. It said if they get more than one reply, they're going to not allow anyone else to ever register at that location again. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but that's what the letter says. So you got to be careful about those replies, folks. And then you've got to send in one reply per location to the Oregon Health Authority no later than December 1st. And then if you're going to apply for the OLCC system, you have to apply by then as well. And there are additional hurdles to jump through over that. So the laws continue to change, and let your legislators know what you think about that. And you know, this makes it harder for medical patients to obtain their cannabis, increases the costs. They think that they are controlling cannabis somehow, and that this is beneficial. I'm not sure exactly why they think that, but obviously some people who tend to, well, you know, whose interest is primarily in making money, want to make sure they can stamp out as much of the competition as possible. And so that's something we're seeing all over the world in the cannabis, just as we do in all businesses, but especially in cannabis lately. Have you seen that, Casper?
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen that at all?
No.
So nobody's tried to stamp out your network? They haven't seen your videos go off or anything like that?
I have been personally blocked from posting just because I've been posting too many times in too many groups.
But then before that, your entire website went down for months,
well, that was
right?
Comcast, but that wasn't just my website. That was my website on a server, and the server itself went down. And there were also many other websites around the United States that went down. So my site was not particularly targeted. It just happened to be on a server that was targeted.
I see.
So it did cause me to have 6 weeks of not being able to do much on my website. That's true. But then I found out from talking to people around the United States that many websites at the end of May, 1st of June, also suffered many of the same complications that I did. So I cannot say that I had been singled out because of my content.
Okay. Well, Mr. John Cornett is getting in place, ready to play a song. I want to urge you folks out there, do not go to my old business known as Empower Healthcare. This banner has been turned around because these corporate raiders, through lies, fraud, and deception, have obtained a court order by spending over $1 million on attorneys, presenting fraudulent documents to the court. They've been able to seize control of a business that I started and ran, and without paying any money whatsoever to us. They just pay themselves money, and they claim that's investing in our business. Well, so if you want more information about how to find a doctor who can help you qualify for medical marijuana here in Oregon or anywhere else in the country, give us a call at our number. It's 503-235-4606. That number there on your screen, 503-235-4606. Hey, well, it looks like, John, you about ready to go?
I can go.
Okay, so John's going to go, and we're going to cut it off here. Thank you folks for watching. Tune in next week and help us.
Some folks like tomatoes, some like rhubarb pie. I like when my vegetables get me a little high. May not be for everyone, may not fit your needs, but this incredible edible vegetable is more than just a weed. Some like rhubarb pie. I like when my vegetables get me a little high. May not be for everyone, may not fit your needs, but this incredible edible vegetable is more than just a weed.
Restore hemp.